And the Bucs hope that this will be their first victory ever.
We have a great area, growing area, in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakeland, and Winter Haven, and even Wauchula. Over 2 million fans, and it's the fastest growing area in the United States.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, live from Tampa Stadium. For the first time ever in a regular season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers enter the stadium with numbers in both the win and loss columns. The Buccaneers came onto the field to a wild standing ovation from the some 60,000-plus fans at Tampa Stadium. They did not introduce any players individually. The PA announcer said, "Ladies and gentlemen, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers."
Welcome to San Diego, California. Super Bowl 37. It is Tampa Bay versus the Oakland Raiders. Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Those up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25. 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, baby! Boom, boom, boom! Yeah! Tom Brady signing with the Tampa Bay Bucs tomorrow. Holy hell. Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a tough team to stop, I think, at this point.
He said, "You know what ring is my favorite one? My favorite ring is the next one." Everyone always says, "Why the Bucs, man? Why did you choose the Bucs?" And it was a no-brainer.
Brady has all kinds of time, throws toward the end zone. It is a caught ball. Touchdown, Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Brady to throw, throws a deep pass downfield. Got Scotty Miller in the open, makes the catch. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Here's the snap out of the gun. Play action fake pass to Gronkowski. He's going to score a touchdown. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Holy guacamole. And the Buccaneer Nation will celebrate. And I want to hear cannons.
We do.
I want to hear cannons.
For sure.
And I think we are going to hear cannons. If I got to do the boom, boom, boom myself. Bucs win. Bucs win the Super Bowl 55. Tom Brady engineers the offense. The Buccaneers score late in the first half, early in the second half. And then the cannons come. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them. How about the Buccaneers, huh?
Bruce, you just said who knows when the next Tom Brady might come, but realistically, when you think about that, if you think about that, how unlikely is it that another Tom Brady will ever come in a sport like
that? I doubt seriously there will be another team like the one he was on for all those years and the one he's on now, because he has a bunch of individual records on a team sport. And I always harp about it. It's not just Tom. There's 10 other guys out there with him and 11 on defense. And that defense he had in New England, the defense he's got here, has helped him win a bunch of games, and those guys up front keeping him clean.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the 48-yard line. Second down, 13. Brady lobs one downfield. Caught ball by Gronkowski inside the 20 to the 15-10. Gronkowski to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Holy guacamole. Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Those up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, baby!
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty, Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast, live on YouTube today for episode 217. Following another blowout victory for the Buccaneers on the season, they advanced to 6-1 for the first time in franchise history. Quite a productive afternoon for the Buccaneers, hosting the Bears at home, 38-3, once again, your final score. A historic afternoon, records broken. I mean, it was a great Sunday in Tampa Bay. Another great Sunday in Tampa Bay. We're going to break all that down over the next hour or so here on the Cannon Fire podcast. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. And joining us today as well, the honorary third member of the show, Mr. Bucs Nation, a.k.a. James Hill. How we feeling, boys, huh? What a game from Tampa Bay. There's a lot of great things to talk about. And believe it or not, there's probably going to be some stuff we'll talk about that might piss people off, but that's a champion mentality at the end of the day. The Bucs they keep winning, man. And another impressive victory today.
It was okay.
Yeah. Which is okay. Yeah. I mean, by James' standards, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So we came into the game and I said about on the preview how the Bears offense, it was 32nd and stuff like that, and 32nd total offense, 32nd in pass or whatever, And I'm sorry. I really am. I gave the Bears too much credit. By saying that, I gave the Bears way too much credit. I mean, man, oh man, that is brutal to watch. I mean, you're talking about playing I understand the Bucs defense was talented and the Bears offense sucked, but still, at some point, Allen Robinson is a good player. I think Justin Fields is actually still a good quarterback, and you're playing a team that has one starting corner, basically, no Levante David. Jason Pierre-Paul is playing with a torn rotator cuff, basically.
Broken finger.
And you get a field goal, 5 turnovers, 4 sacks, just holy crap. Credit to the Bucs. I mean, credit to the Bucs defense. They play their butts off, obviously, but man, oh man, Chicago is way in more rough shape than I thought he was going to be. It's insane.
Yeah. What'd you think, James?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, geez, I've been taking a look at the stats here. I'm sure we'll be looking at this a lot. It's bad whenever you have a secondary that's without Carlton Davis, that's without Sean Murphy-Bunting, that's without Richard Sherman. Jamel Dean got hurt multiple times in this game, right? And Justin Fields, 184 yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. That's tough. Yeah, that's tough, man.
Chicago's leading receiver was Darnell Mooney, and on the day, he had 2 catches for 39 yards. Incredibly enough, they are the first team to, I think, eclipse 100 yards rushing on Tampa Bay. That no-name running back that we were kind of cracking jokes about on the preview show went out there and had a day against Tampa Bay, but it doesn't matter. Even if your run game works, as long as you can't keep up with Tampa Bay, they're going to win the game 9 times out of 10. And as we talk about efficiency in this one, starting the game for Tampa Bay, it took the Bucs 3 minutes and 42 seconds to stop Chicago on defense, get the ball after a great punt return from Jalen Darden, who made his debut.
That's great for the brand, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is just, quick clap for Jalen Darden real quick.
Sir, let's give it up for the rookie.
Come on, man. That's Jalen Darden. Yeah, and he had that nice little end around. Yeah, nice day. You kind of could tell how this game was going to go for Chicago very early on.
43 yards on that punt, set up the Bucs with a short field. And I believe it was the Leonard Fournette 2-yard touchdown on that first drive. Yeah. But regardless, it didn't take the Bucs very long to take control of this game. And throughout the early course of this game, complementary football at its finest, might I say. When both sides of the ball were rolling as they were today, there were a couple of times when the offense stalled out. But when you're up by 30 points, it's, if you sit around and gripe about that, there's really no point in doing so. Guys like Tom Brady, and I'm sure Bruce Arians are going to tell you that they left points out there on the field, and Tom probably could have made some more throws today. But regardless, you still win the game by 35 points. Blaine Gabbert gets in the game. Honestly, it felt like Tom wanted to stay in this game for as long as he possibly could. He got that 600th career touchdown, the only player in NFL history to do so. And Mike Evans found the end zone 3 times, but just when this team was doing its thing, like we know that they can, it is against the bad Bears team, but it was some of the best complementary football I've seen from Tampa Bay probably ever.
Yeah, I mean, really, the Bucs offense got one actual drive against the Bears defense where they resulted in a touchdown.
Right, it was 4 straight short field scenarios for them.
Yeah, like they scored 21 points in the first quarter. Like it's just it seemed like it was turnover after turnover every time Chicago had the ball. It was either a 3 and out or a turnover, whatever it was. And I mean, it's not even like Chicago was driving down and then they had the turnover. No, they would have the turnover on like the second or third play of the drive. It got out of hand so quick for Chicago. And credit to the Bucs. I mean, the defensive line really stepped up and made life tough for Justin Fields. That's what they needed to do. That's what we've been preaching, right? 4 sacks on the day. I believe they had a strip sack as well. 2 strip sacks.
Yeah, 2 strip sacks. JPP had 2 sacks on the afternoon. One of those was a strip sack. Shaq Barrett continuing his top tier performance. He had a strip sack today. And Antoine Winfield Jr., who returned off of concussion protocol, very first play from scrimmage off of the blitz, got to the quarterback.
Actually, it was the second play. Yeah, the second play. Okay. Which Ross Cockrell also should have fell on that ball anyway, but like whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they could have had 6 turnovers. If Ross Cockrell just falls on that ball and picks up, that's another turnover. So potentially 6 turnovers for the Bucs defense. Just the Bears. I mean, they are in some rough shape offensively, and I mean the Bucs really took it to them. And I mean, I thought most guys played great. I mean, really can really not much to complain about, honestly, especially on the defensive side of things. Offense, maybe a little, but whatever. We'll get to it. But yeah, defensively, I just thought everything was fine. It's like, I know it's not much of a challenge because of the offense that you were playing. However, it's nice to see this type of domination. Brady with a $5 super chat.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you
for donating. Account. Thank you for donating to the Wendy's Fund. James, what were your thoughts all around for the game today?
So I initially thought that like this might have been the most complete game we've seen from the Bucs in the Brady era, but then I went back and I thought, well, what about that Dolphins game? And then I thought about the Lions game.
Right.
But regardless, this is still probably top 3 most complete game we've seen from the Bucs in the Brady era so far.
Maybe top 5. Yeah, I think there's been a few times where the offense has been better. So
right. So I mean, this was a great win, right? Everything that you wanted to go right went right for the most part, minus a couple of small things that's really nitpicking at the end of the day. But regardless, yeah, this was great. The defense looked phenomenal. The offense did what it needed to do to win the game, and overall, yeah, it was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, it really felt like the Bucs were able to control this game in all 3 phases. During the third quarter, even though the offense started to slow down, you started to see the run game get a little bit more involved. Some of that chew clock coming in into the third quarter is what I'm thinking of. But let's go ahead and talk about the offensive production today as we take a look at this game as a whole. I know the defense is the star of things, but we'll get to those guys soon enough. So looking at the stat lines here, Tom Brady, the quarterback, 20 for 36, 211 yards, 4 touchdowns. Probably could have had like 5 or 6, maybe 7 touchdowns in this one. It seemed like the red zone offense struggled today more than it has the entire season. But, when it's a game like this, it's very easy to forget. But, Tom looked sharp, broke his record, did have a bad string of incompletions. But again, it's really not anything that seems worth looking too far into, right? Is there a quarterback controversy in Tampa Bay? Is Tom Brady not as sharp as we thought he was at one point?
I thought it was great. No, I thought Tom Brady was great. He did exactly what he needed to do. I think he's in the running for MVP.
Oh yeah, man.
No, I mean, the thing that sucks is like it felt like he could have had more than 211 yards. It felt like it was
great. No, I mean it. It was great. If I've got to hear fans in the national media talk about Jameis Winston whenever he did it in week 1 with 180 passing yards, no. Tom Brady did the same exact thing. This man should be an MVP.
I'll take it.
All right.
It's valid.
Calm down, Bug Nation.
I don't want to hear it.
That's like our conversation about the Sixers the other day. That's how I was. Basically.
That was basically how it was.
So yeah, I mean, I thought, just like you said, Brady did what he needed to do, right? He very rarely did he put the ball in harm's way. When he did, it was just either a good play by Chicago or wasn't really many like dumb decisions, I would say, or anything like that. So yeah, I thought he did what he needed to do. I mean, the The deep ball to Mike Evans was a really nice ball. Places perfectly. Nothing the defensive back could do there. To me, I felt like at times his offensive line let him down a little bit. I felt like he was hurried 8 times in the game, so it felt like sometimes when the Bears were blitzing, they were starting to be able to get up the middle and push the pocket a little bit, which forced some incompletions. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I thought Brady was fine. There was a few balls he missed, but whatever, Yeah, he did what he needed to do. 4 touchdowns. I think the only reason he stayed out there as long as he did was because they were so close to scoring a touchdown when on that goal line stand, and then they didn't, and then they got the short field. 4 touchdowns felt like he could have had 6 or 7. And also, Bree, I know you're not a housewife because I know Rhett doesn't have any money, so I know that for certain.
Wow.
So, I know it's definitely coming out of your pocket, so I do appreciate the super chat. I do.
There we go. Let's take a detour to. Okay. I wanted to ask really quickly. We talked about Tom Brady's day. He broke the record, 600 touchdowns. What did you think of that whole Mike Evans football ordeal? So Mike Evans got 3 touchdowns on the day, and every single touchdown I've noticed this season when the Bucs play at home, he usually goes out of his way to find somebody in a Mike Evans jersey and give them a game ball. So I'm going to make sure every Bucs game I go to for the rest of my life, I'm going to have my Mike Evans jersey on. But so the guy had the ball for probably 5 minutes, and then I guess a staff member had to come over and bargain with him to try and get it back. What did you make of that whole ordeal? Which I might have tucked the ball and ran out of the stadium. I don't know if they would have been able to catch me.
All right. So real quick, just to recap, as far as I know, what he received in return for the ball was another. Well, hang on. I want to get you guys' opinions on it. Was another game ball, was a signed jersey. Now we don't know who the signed jersey was by. We don't know that for sure. We'll probably find that out later, but right now we don't know. Well, I would demand it to be either Brady or Evans, somebody involved in the play. A signed jersey, and they also gave him $1,000 gift card to the Bucs team store.
Oh, did they really?
Yes, they did. They gave him $1,000 gift card to the Bucs team store.
James.
So I want your opinion real quick. I mean, I do actually. I want Rhett to get that. What's up?
Well, I was going to say, James, really quickly, $1,000 to the Bucs store. That's almost enough to buy Tom Brady's signature. That's only like a third of what you need to get an autographed Tom Brady something or other from the Bucs store, as me and James saw at training camp. But still, I will say, if I were there,
the question is, did he receive enough? Or was it a fair trade?
I don't think so, solely because of what he could have gotten for that ball in return. Like I said, I would have left the stadium as soon as possible. I know my loyalty is to the Bucs, but when you look at, let's get logistical here for a minute. When you look at the return that football could have gotten you on the open auction somewhere, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is a one-of-one football piece of memorabilia. Tom Brady's 600th touchdown, hand-delivered by the man who caught the touchdown. Yeah, that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I mean, unless the Bucs want to give me free season tickets for life, and maybe $3,000 at the merch store, so I can actually buy Tom Brady's autograph, then maybe I'll think about it. But I thought that guy got fleeced.
I thought, I would have done the same thing. I would have left. I mean, there's no way like I'm staying there.
I can listen to the game on the radio on the way home.
Yeah, I can watch, like, it's easily accessible nowadays to watch the game. I'm fine. Like, yeah, I will stand outside the stadium and listen to it. I'm getting out of there. I don't think it was a fair trade-off. I do think it's a decent return, but it's just not, like you said, man. And I think there's proof that it's him too, because the cameras caught him getting the ball, so he can prove that it is him and that is the actual ball. Yeah, I just, hey, cool for him. I mean, he wanted to do that for Tom. I mean, I would be like, okay, let me stay with you for a week then, Tom. let me, let me pick a week out in the off season or something. Let me just hang out with you.
I'll go to practice. You won't even know I'm there.
Yeah, exactly.
James, what did you think?
I don't know the rules with that though, because is the football technically NFL property?
Yeah, but no. So what happens is when a player gives you the ball, you get to keep it.
Just every time.
If the player gives you the ball, you get to keep it. You're not forced. Now, if the ball is thrown by, let's say Tom Brady throws the ball away and it goes into the end zone, you don't get to keep that. But if the ball is, after a touchdown is scored, if a player willingly gives you the ball, you get to keep that ball. The player's fined for it. The player is fined a couple $1,000, like $1,000 or something.
Could you imagine how much money Mike Evans? You would have been forced to buy the ball back.
Yeah, no.
But no. So just from what I know, that happens, right, in every sport. If it's a big deal, teams will ask nicely at first, and then I don't know if they'll ask as nicely. If the fan doesn't want to give it back. Like you said, Rhett, if the guy would have just ran away, then that would have been a pretty good. But you also got to think that might have been as to why they left the camera lingering so long, as so they all knew, like, you better not leave. We know what you look like.
It's funny because I imagine in a scenario where if he does tuck the ball and try and run out of the stadium, it's almost like a lockdown situation. They start locking all the gates, getting security, and they're going to tackle the guy in the corridor somewhere.
That might be legit. Like, that might have been...
Right.
Like
NFL, FBI.
Ball, man. That's my ball at that point. Mike Evans gave that to me. That is my ball.
So the case with that is, so I just know that teams in every sport, or, whatever, if there's anything related to that kind of stuff, like monumental milestone type stuff, I know that they'll ask nicely. And then, like, they'll kind of really strong arm. And if the fan's like, I don't want, I want to keep it. But I don't know. It's a fine return, I guess. I mean, the only reason he got it was out of the kindness of Mike Evans' heart. He didn't work to get that football. He was just in the right place at the right time.
But also, like, he doesn't have to give that ball back. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't.
That's fine. He doesn't have to give it back. I'm just saying the dude's just stupid. I mean, I guess it's like winning the lottery, I guess, right?
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I mean,
could you imagine if Mike he just didn't hand it off. He just went, this is fun, and just chucked it up into
he's done that before. I've got video. Yeah. I missed a Mike Evans reception, by literally a hand. The guy next to me caught it. It was the Arizona game.
That was the Arizona. Hey, I was there.
I was in the end zone. Mike Evans caught the ball. Actually, no, it was an O.J. Howard touchdown. Mike Evans picked the ball up and then threw it into the stands, and it landed right next to me. If I wasn't filming, I would have had it. But while we are talking about Mike Evans, I want to talk about the production he had on offense today, and I'm really glad he put up this stat line. 6 receptions, 76 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It had to feel nice, not only because I'm a huge fan of Mike Evans, but we got our buddy Tony Saylor, a.k.a. Tony Baloney, hanging out in the chat. And listen, the Mike Evans slander this week was real, and it will not be forgotten. Tony, as much as I love you, the Bucs should be 7-1 by the Berry House Watch Party, in which Tony Baloney said he's going to buy everybody there a beer. But you are not off the hook, my friend. Mike Evans is a legendary Buccaneer, and he proved it yet again today. So I'm glad he had the afternoon that he did.
Oh, man. Yeah, just yeah.
I mean, I would have given the football back.
Are you still thinking about it?
What are you talking about?
But you know what I would have asked for? I would have asked for a photo with Brady.
We're not talking about that.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. I really had to get that point across.
Okay,
well, that was a delayed response there.
Half of Mike Evans' receptions today were touchdowns, so there's that.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say,
man.
That's all I gotta say.
Speaking of some other big receivers on the day, Chris Godwin, your leading receiver for Tampa Bay, 8 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown for CG. And the running game as well. While the passing game wasn't that great with the running backs, it was nice to see both of them have pretty productive days. Leonard Fournette, all season Lenny, 15 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Ronald Jones showed up today, 10 carries, 63 yards, had a couple of nice runs. No touchdowns, but they certainly tried to get him in the end zone, man.
They tried.
Yeah, you can't say they didn't make an effort there, but, another offensive clinic with pieces that you're missing. Antonio Brown not in this game. Rob Gronkowski still kind of on the mend, should be back soon. But just the levels of production that we talked about, and the fact that guys like Tom Brady and Bruce Arians are going to say they left points on the field, it's hard to walk away from this one really feeling upset. And I think that kind of says everything there is to say about the offense today, right?
Yeah, I mean, they did what they needed to do. Like, you get a short field, don't kick a field goal, score a touchdown. That's what you needed to do, right? That is what you needed to do. Because if they kick field goals instead of touchdowns, it might be a completely different game. Like, it might be a completely different game. So yeah, it's big. It is certainly a big deal that they were able to do that. And it's just, like I said, obviously, points are points, but 6, mathematically, 6 is more than 3, right? So anytime you can get 6, and also missed the field goal, so they left even actual points on the board.
He did. That might have been his worst miss as a Buck.
Yeah, nowhere close. It's makeable. I don't know. That was weird. But yeah, just like you said, the offense went out and they got the job done, right? No turnovers, very little penalties. They have 1 penalty today. So, they did what they needed to do. Yes, I know the Bears didn't have Robert Quinn. They didn't have Akeem Hicks. Obviously that factors into it for sure. But at the same time, the Bears defense isn't any slouch still. And Tristan Wirfs did a great job on Khalil Mack, right? Just shut him down.
Yeah, he was a complete non-factor today, it felt.
Yeah. You don't even remember if he played, honestly. So, there's not a whole lot to say about the offense because they did what needed to be done. It wasn't really flashy. It was just good football. That's what it was.
I think one of the biggest takeaways from the offense this season as a whole, we've talked a lot about how, they leave points on the field, but yet they can still go out and drop 45, 38, almost 50 points on teams. And I guess what I've learned from this is that while the Bucs may never play a perfect game on offense, when they finally do, they're going to put up 74 points and break the NFL scoring record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once again, speaking to the levels of production on this offense, just at an incredible pace, and they've got quite the test next week in New Orleans, but it should be a good one. Now, let's talk about the stars of the contest, the defensive side of the ball. Production, complementary football is a hot topic today, and let's take a look at the stat line for the defense. They were merciless coming into this game. On the blitz, it was one of those things where, I think, Tony Romo talked about it. For the defense, it was to blitz or not to blitz. How confident do you feel in getting after the quarterback? We know Justin Fields is a little shifty. He can make things happen in the pocket, but he is still a rookie, and I think he got rattled pretty quickly. From the beginning of the game, they were on him, and that pocket was constantly just closing in on him, and he had to try and make things happen. His quarterback line was not that great. But again, some of the guys who shined, 4 sacks for the game. JPP had 2 sacks. One of those was a strip sack. Shaq had a strip sack. Antoine Winfield technically had a strip sack, even though I don't think the Bucs ended up recovering that one. Mm-hmm. 3 interceptions. D. Delaney had a pick. Pierre Desir with a huge pick. He jumped up to snag it. That was a beautiful highlight reel play. And then Jordan Whitehead got one as well. So everything you could have asked for from a defense that's already struggling with injuries. You're down bad in the secondary, but the rest of the team was able to step up and just complement the back end of things and make it a lot easier on those guys to not only get after the quarterback, but force him to make mistakes throughout the course of the afternoon. James, what were your biggest takeaways from the Buccaneers defense in this one?
There we go. I was trying to figure out the mute button.
Don't you do this for isn't this your thing?
A living, basically. Surprisingly, yeah. No, but in terms of the defense, man, I was so stinking proud of the cornerbacks. I'm looking at guys like Pierre Desir and D. Delaney. Those guys put in some work, man.
I thought D. Delaney was off to a pretty good start in this one.
Yeah, it was
because of course he's a Bucs defensive back. He has to get hurt at some point. So
right, and I thought it was just so cool that Bruce Arians was they both had they both had a good couple of weeks. We'll see which one ends up starting, and we think they both played well for us, and both of them got interceptions. I thought that was cool. I thought that was great. Coach Richard Sherman on the sideline looked great. I thought that was fun. It makes me want him to be a coach on this team after he retires. Get the AQ Shipley treatment. But yeah, this defense played such a complete game, right? The pass rush was dominant. It helped out the secondary a ton. I think every interception that Fields threw was because of the pressure that was getting put on him because of that pass rush. So it makes the secondary job easier. And just so many guys had to step up and fill in. I talked about D. Delaney, Pierre Desir, Kevin Minter. those guys all put in some really good work today, and I'm happy for all of them.
So the funny thing is, apparently, Justin Fields on the first interception, somebody in his headset told him that the Bucs had 12 players on the field. So Justin Fields thought it was a free play and just threw it. And that's why. So somebody on the Bears coaching staff, I'm not sure who it was, but he was told that the Bucs had 12 players on the field, and they obviously did not. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, I think I said this in my post game, my post, the caption, the Bucs played the Bears, the Bears came to town, but it was the Bucs who did all the mauling. I mean, it was I even the game versus Detroit, I'm not sure last year was this dominant of a defensive performance. I thought that game versus Detroit, the offense was much better. The offense really carried them in that. But yeah, this was just just pure domination. Like, you just had the sense that Chicago just wasn't going to be able to do anything at any point. And I see Brian Shaw in the chat who, he didn't really like my predictions, I guess, because God forbid, people complain when I pick the Bucs to win. They can complain when I pick the Bucs to lose. He says, brilliant 6-point game prediction there. Easy work for the Bucs. Okay, Brian, did you want me to pick a 35-point win?
No.
Because I'm never going to do that. So if you have a crystal ball, please let me know. And if you picked a 35-point win, please, tell me what the Powerball numbers are, because I would love to hear it. So, and also real quick,
he's going in.
In the Brady era, my record of predicting games, my record is 20-3 in the regular season. Okay, every time, right? For a game, we do a prediction. My record of picking the team to win is 20-3. The 3 times I was wrong, it's because I picked the Bucs to win twice and they didn't. So anybody that says, "Oh, I never picked the Bucs and you never do this, never do that," the 2, out of the 3 times I was wrong, 2 times I picked the Bucs and they didn't even win. So one of the times was against the Bears last year. That was one of the times. So, I don't understand the whole, you always pick against the Bucs and stuff like that. Okay, settle down. Okay, I picked the Bucs to win, in every single game this year, except for the one they didn't. So I have a perfect record this year. So just stop.
You want to know what I've learned from doing this podcast with Evan for I think a little over 5 years at this point is trust the process, right?
That's right. That's right. That's how I live life.
Yeah.
That's Sam Hinkie, the former president of the 76ers. Sam Hinkie really just gave me a life motto.
Made an impression on you, I see.
Yeah, I mean, he made an impression on all of us, and yeah.
So, for Tampa Bay, as we take a look back at this game, it's funny because it feels like every single week they're making our job easier to do, right? There really isn't a whole lot you can take away from this game and maybe take into depth and try and complain about, because there's just no use in doing it. The Bucs beat a bad football team exactly the way the defending Super Bowl champions should beat a bad football team. They're now 6-1 for the first time in franchise history. Tom Brady leads the NFL in touchdowns, I'm pretty sure. I think he will after this weekend is over, because Pat Mahomes had a terrible day as Kansas City lost. It's shaping up to be one of the best weekends of football in the entire season. So, what use is it to sit around and try and find things to pick at this team about? They do have a really big contest against the New Orleans Saints next week on Halloween, but
spooky.
Yeah. I mean,
spooky month.
I really think.
Month.
Thanks, James.
No problem.
I really think we've covered our bases, guys. We talked about the run game. We talked about the receivers having a big day. A couple of guys stepping up despite the injuries. What other storylines are there to take away from this game? D. Delaney obviously going down. Jamel Dean went down a couple of times. Staying healthy after this game, I think, is also going to be a topic for the next couple of days, because unfortunately for the Bears, they had 3 players within 24 hours of the game end up on the COVID list. So just something to monitor as the course of the week goes on. But really, this week of football is as cut and dry as it gets. The Bucs go out there and kick ass for 4 quarters, right?
Do you mean in terms of good and bad stuff? Because there's one thing I kind of want to bring up.
Go ahead, man. Whatever's on your mind about this game, lay it out on the table.
So kind of thinking about back to the Eagles game too, this is the second week in a row where the run defense has kind of been given up a little bit more than it's been expected. And I'm not saying that that's like, it is nitpicking, it is, but it is stil semi-interesting nonetheless, right? Why are you mang? Evan?
I think between the chat and having James on the show this week, we might have broken Evan. He's already cutting promos.
Well, so what's the response to that?
Well, I mean, yeah, the Bears are they were ranked 7th in rushing for offense. That was the one statistic on offense they were actually good at. The Bears, we all knew that the Bucs were gonna play like the pass basically. Especially once they got up 21 points, you're not really expecting the Bears to run much. So, like, I mean, I don't know. And then Philly, the same thing. Like, the Bucs were up 14, and like, Philly goes, hurry up, and then they start running Miles Sanders. So, yeah, I'm not really concerned about it. So, I mean, the teams were passing on the Bucs at an historic rate. So, the Bucs had to, basically form their defense to try and stop the pass a little bit more. So, like, you're going to maybe give up some runs, and especially to a team that's a good running team. Like the Phillies, the Eagles aren't really – I was going to say Philly, and then I was going to say Eagles.
Okay, sure.
But the Phillies are done. I hate the Phillies, dude. Like, they ruined my life. So, yeah, I don't want to think about them. So, like, Philly – they're not a good, they just don't run the ball, right? So when they do, it kind of catches the Bucs off guard. They're not really expecting it, right? So I don't really put too much stock into that. The Bears actually was that Khalil Herbert is the first 100-yard rusher against the Bucs since Dalvin Cook in week 14 last year. That was the last 100-yard rusher that the Bucs surrendered. So I'm not really concerned. And if whatever, right? Like even if you are getting yards, through on the ground, I don't really care. I honestly don't.
Part of that can be as well that Levante David has been out the past 2 games.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. 100%. And Antoine Winfield was out, and while he doesn't, play run defense as much as a guy like Jordan Whitehead does, last Thursday Antoine Winfield wasn't there. Today he was. He made some plays. I think that definitely impacts things. Carlton Davis is actually a very good run support corner, and I think all of it just affects things. So I'm not concerned about it at all. If Alvin Kamara comes in and gets 150 yards, and then the week after that, week 10 versus Washington, Antonio Gibson lights them up, then you can start to be concerned about it. But until that happens, I'm good.
Yeah. As we take a look ahead in the week, I wanted to get your opinion, Evan, on some of the injuries that we've talked about, because it seems like the timetable is ripe. It's a big division game coming up this week, so I have a gut feeling you're going to get at least one, if not 2 or 3 of those guys back. But, Rob Gronkowski is someone that you talk about. Richard Sherman's still probably going to end up missing this one, but a couple of other players might be in that discussion this week. What do you think the ETA is for most of those guys people are looking at on the injury list?
I think Levante David might be close because, if Bruce Arians was hoping that he could be back for this game, I have to imagine it'd be very close for next week's game. Yeah. I think Rob Gronkowski is close. I don't know. I just don't know if they're going to rush Gronkowski, even though they didn't get much production from the tight end today like they did versus Philly. I just don't know if they're going to really rush Gronkowski.
I know you don't want to rush him, but it's a shame he wasn't out there for National Tight End Day.
Yeah, right. I don't know. But those are the 2 guys I think you can keep your eye on for New Orleans. I think those are the 2 that are closest. Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Richard Sherman. Those 3 are still probably a little ways away. We don't know about Jamel Dean. I think it might have been more of a precautionary thing. Bucs have a huge lead. I think maybe it's something to Jamel Dean. It looked like his arm maybe. I think it's something that Jamel Dean could have played with, but what's the sense of it?
Yeah.
So, I think Gronk and Levante are probably the 2 that are closest. Antonio Brown, I would expect it to only be a 1-game thing, just to keep him out this week, but who knows? I think that all depends on how it swells up and stuff. So, but I will say, if guys like Gronk and Levante David and Antonio Brown, if they don't play this week, it does seem like they're getting ready to return week 10 versus Washington. So it's sooner rather than later. It definitely is for most of these guys. I think especially Sherman, it sounds like he's optimistic that it's going to be probably Washington or New York week 11. So it sounds like the Bucs are going to be getting a lot more healthier soon. I just, I think maybe one or two guys come back for New Orleans. I don't know if all of them do. And I think, the weeks following, I think you're going to see guys sprinkled in there. So we'll see.
Yeah, and obviously you talk about the timing of the bye week as well. The Bucs are playing a division rival New Orleans in their stadium, and then you've got the bye week. So for the guys who probably aren't going to be ready to go, but are kind of close at that point, it almost seems like a shoo-in that they're going to be ready to go for Washington, which is the week of the first ever Cannon Fire Watch Party at Berry House Beer Company, just for anybody who's curious about that one. But, looking at the injuries and how these guys are going to be affected going in against New Orleans, it'll be interesting to monitor who's in, who's out kind of thing. But, even for guys like SMB and Carlton Davis, who still seem like they're a couple of weeks away, having that bye week there feels like it's going to do wonders for their progression on the season, because we're going to come out of the bye week and you should be able to get some good news on at least one of those guys who have been out for a long chunk of time. But just something else. I mean,
also,
monitor.
yet again, you play 2 games right out of the bye week against 2 offenses that aren't great. So that helps also, right? You don't need to rush them back necessarily. That's been a huge break that the Bucs have gotten, right? After that Rams game, when Jamel Dean went down, and obviously, Carl Davis went down during the New England game, but New England, Philly, New England, Miami, Philly, Chicago, all those 4 offenses just really helps a depleted defense. It really helps because, to play those types of offenses. So New Orleans is going to be tough if a lot of those guys can't go. It will be tough, but, they're not the best offense in the world. Like they're not, they're not a top 10 offense. They're probably, out of the teams that the Bucs have played the last 4 weeks, they're probably the best offense, I would say, but I don't think they're anything, like spectacular. The biggest thing is it's a tough road game. It's a tough road game. That energy in that building is going to be incredible. So the Bucs are going to have to really match it. And we'll see what happens. But like I said, I do think the Bucs will be getting healthy sooner rather than later for sure.
Yeah, and taking a look at how Tampa Bay has been performing at home this season as opposed to
undefeated at home.
They are now undefeated at home, and that's going to be so much more important down the stretch, because hopefully if the Bucs can keep their win total up and remain among the top seeds in the NFC, home field advantage come the playoffs, man. If you can get Raymond James Stadium rocking the way that it has been these past few weeks during the playoffs, that's going to be huge, because, the facts are there. We see the way that this team plays in Tampa, and that's going to be really important down the stretch as well. Let's go ahead and start to recap everything that we have talked about today. I want to get to the take bag part of the program. Evan, it is time for your weekly take bag. I'm curious if you have anything you want to take away from this game, and then whenever you're finished, James, I want to get your thoughts too.
Yeah, real quick, shout out to Tom Brady. Not sure if you guys saw or not, but Tom Brady greeted a fan, and it looked like it's a normal interaction or whatever. But it turns out that fan actually had brain cancer. So Tom Brady, the fan had a sign that said, "Tom Brady helped me beat brain cancer." And Tom Brady went over to him and shook his hand, gave him a hat, and just a cool thing. The kids started crying. Just something if you want to feel good, but also maybe it's a little tearjerker. Go ahead and check that out. It's pretty cool.
It's a good day for stuff like that, by the way. Mike Evans going out of his way to find fans to give game balls to, and then Tom Brady being the good guy we know he is. It was a good day for the feel good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And also, this is one more thing. I don't think the refs were that horrible today, but they did miss a lot of obvious holds, I felt. So I think the Bucs could have had even more sacks. It felt like they missed 3 or 4 holds throughout the game. And yeah, I don't know. I know the refs aren't great. They were fine today, but just, I don't know, just something. Just something to, I don't know, just something that's like frustrating. It's always frustrating to me when it's not called and then it's a big play or, and also, so I think Ryan Suggett missed the field goal. And then the Bears went down and kicked the field goal. And that felt like it was almost a turning point. But then kudos to the Bucs offense for keeping their foot on the gas and putting it away, because that's one where you need to put the ball in the end zone. And they did, because the Bears were getting some momentum there. They only, kudos to the defense for only allowing 3 points. It was 21-3 at that point, I think. Then the Bucs offense made it 28-3, which obviously we all know about that. But I wonder what Tom Brady was thinking when it was 28-3. Just like,
well, they were able to, they were able to keep it not that way before the half, which is always good. 35 points, I believe, the most points ever scored by Tampa Bay in the first quarter or first half. So literally the most productive first 2 quarters in Buccaneers history we witnessed out there today. But, talking about the offense stepping up and just finishing this game when they needed to, I think back to, I believe it was the scoring drive that put them up 35-3 right before the half, and they went for it on 4th down. They put Leonard Fournette up the gut. He's able to break a tackle, push forward, move the chains, set the Bucs up, get the points on the board. Yeah, it was a good 100%. Call. I mean, no risk it, no biscuit, strikes again, and that's a great moment to do it as they were able to put away Chicago. James, what are your final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, great momentum, right? This is 2 out of the past 3 games the Buccaneers have played where they have just been dominant, right? Like not even close. So they've got a lot of good momentum in their favor going into a pretty important game next week. Not exactly in terms of like division standings or anything, because the Bucs are still going to be number 1 in the division, even if they lose next week.
I mean, aside from the division,
yes and no, but like if the Bucs lose, then the Saints, like if it comes down to that, the Saints might have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So
that's true. If they beat Seattle tomorrow, yes. Yeah. So I guess that's true. I forgot that they only have 2 losses, right? They're 3-2.
Yes. Yeah. The Giants and the Panthers. Yes.
So not just because of that, but also because of the fact that, there's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of storylines.
We're going to have plenty of time to talk about them. Don't worry.
Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be just, geez. I mean, my gosh, it's just, I'm happy that they have a lot of momentum on their side is the point.
For a lot of people, I mean, looking at, the slew of content we're going to be putting out this week, for a lot of people, it seems like they've been waiting for this moment for a little while, right? I mean, I feel like between the end of 2019 to right now, we've done everything we can to maybe not mention our ex-quarterback every other week. Every now and again, it gets brought up because, of course, now he's in the same division as us, but this is the week. This is it. It's going to be a big game for Tampa Bay. Obviously, the division race is going to be important, but just beating those damn Saints, man. Halloween in their house, the Buccaneers rolling, winners of their last 4, 6-1 for the first time in franchise history, in firm grasp on first place in the NFC South. It's going to be a fun week of football. It's always a fun week of football when the Buccaneers win, but now that they're 6-1, man, like we talk about it every week, the fact that this team just feels like it keeps getting better, and another quality opponent that they're going to have to step up to this week, but I'm confident they can do it. Of course, we're going to talk about everything else between now and then over the course of the week on the Cannon Fire podcast. But with that, folks, I think that's just about going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much for hanging out live with us on YouTube. Shout out to all of our people in the chat. Tony Baloney, glad to have you here, man. My buddy Redbeard checking in.
It's all fun, Tony.
Oh, it's all ribs. It's all ribs. Kevin522, the moderator, holding it down. Willie Beeman was also in here earlier. Shout out to him. Brady is Mahomes' daddy, still probably one of the top tier usernames. We need to actually put together a list of like the good usernames because, I mean, between, the stuff that I've done with live streaming and then this, and you see a lot of different chat names, but I like all the football related ones, but there's a lot of really good chat names. We got to start keeping track. Jared was in here as well. Brian Shaw, who doesn't like your predictions, but he still tunes in. Glad to have him here. But thanks to anybody else I may have missed. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you do so. Plenty of great Buccaneers content throughout the course of the season and beyond. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show. And, of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucs_daily, the #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram, rapidly approaching 30,000 followers. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL. Check out James' stuff if you want to. He is on YouTube here at Mr. Bucs Nation and social media at Mr. Bucs Nation as well, although he's not too active on there anymore. But I will tell you, if you guys follow us on social media or you pay attention to the community tab, you saw that this week me and James were able to pick up some reading material.
Good stuff.
Right?
Good
right
stuff.
Here, buddy. Season in the Sun by Lars Anderson, forward by Coach Bruce Arians. The inside story of Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, and the making of a champion. It basically details the Buccaneers' process of going after Tom Brady, Operation Shoeless Joe Jackson, as it was codenamed around One Buck Place, and then, of course, the 2020 campaign and eventual Super Bowl championship. It's a great recap of last season, and maybe you'll learn something. Go check it out. It is available now.
Brady is Mahomes' daddy, soon to be Mr. Table Nation.
Oh, right. Yeah, man. Can't forget. James has got great content, but he's also the man going through a table at the first ever Cannon Fire watch party here in a couple of weeks. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be so fun.
James gonna be dead on the table. It's so fun.
He's gonna be under the. He's not gonna be on the table. He'll be under the table.
He'll be through the table.
I'll be in the table.
Yeah.
Last but not least, you can follow myself on Instagram and Twitter at Redicus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. With that said, folks, thanks once again for checking out this week's episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast, brought to you by our good friends over at betonline.ag. If you want to get a head start, send us your questions and your takes for the midweek mailbag show. We're going to be doing that on Wednesday, and we'd love to hear from you. cannonfirepodcast@gmail.com. Submit a take, a question, whatever it may be. We'll read it on the show, and we will talk about it. That's the nature of the mailbag show. And then, of course, later on in the week, we're going to be breaking down Sunday's matchup against the New Orleans Saints. So make sure you subscribe and you don't miss any of the great content that we have got coming your way this week. I am your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish, and our very special guest, James Hill. We'll talk to you guys later. Until then, and as always, go Bucs.